You are listening to the Sports and Sorts podcast.
Deep to left field. Boone back choice. Looking up. See ya. 3,000. History.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble! This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Little roller up along first. Behind the man. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Yes! Welcome back to Sports and Sorts. It is episode 126. I am one of your hosts. My name is Shane Moore. And Brian Man's on mute.
It's a good start. It's a good start to Saturday. I am your other host, the Brian Man.
Well, you did have
Solid
you
start.
did have a lot of beer yesterday.
I like beer, and I did have a lot of beer.
And far away too. I mean, you weren't close.
No, I was in Vermont.
Yeah. So we have a lot to talk about today. Lots on the docket. Little MLB, October baseball, a good amount of NFL to talk about today. A little state of the Yankees as well. We also have a little sorts to discuss. So you know what? Of course, we can't go 5 minutes without seeing this either in the Yankee text group or on the show when we go live. Thank you, Joe, for making an appearance once again and saying what you always say. Fire Cashman, which is something we will be talking about today because, like I said, Yankees, the whole group, the three-headed monster that is Aaron Boone, Cashman, and Hal Steinbrenner, they kind of ran the media gauntlet. We were going to be talking about that in just a little bit, but we got a great show today, so let's go.
You are listening to Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bry Man.
All right, so lots to talk about. First thing we'll talk about is
Play ball!
we're going to talk a little MLB. Dodgers played the Blue Crew last night in Milwaukee, and Kershaw is taking another L in the playoffs because, for one, he didn't pitch that great. I mean, he wasn't pitching that great, and two, his defense is not great. Which got me thinking a little bit about Kershaw, particularly in the postseason, because Kershaw having some issues in the postseason, and as great as he is, I wonder if he doesn't change his approach to hitters from the regular season to the postseason, because he gave up a home run to the pitcher. And granted, the guy can rake. He can hit. But you have to pitch to every batter in the postseason. You can't take breaks on anyone. Postseason heroes come from anywhere, and this, as Yankee fans, we know this because I mean, Scotty Brocious was a huge postseason hero for us. So you have to pitch to every batter like they are all coming up with the stat line like 330, 35 home runs, and 120 RBIs. Like that's how you have to pitch to every single batter, including the pitcher. Because they will all, somebody's going to come back to bite you if you don't. And you can't take anybody for granted. And then on top of that, you have to play defense. Man, what's going on?
I don't know.
Did you get Rhino?
The Rhinos are up again.
Yeah.
All three of them.
So you have to pitch them, all of them, like it's like the whole world is on fire. Like
I would say the only exception to that rule is Giancarlo Stanton. Just throw him 3 high fastballs and a slider in the dirt.
They were pitching him well. They were pitching around him, and that's where you have to pitch him to get him out. And everybody knows that now. We'll see if he can correct that in the offseason. Hey, Brandon, what's up? How you doing?
Not likely.
Brandon's making an appearance. We were going to have him, I think, on the show last week or this week. I can't remember, but we were going to have him on the show. But he couldn't make it because obviously he works. I think it might have been next week, but he's going to be coming on soon. He's going to be coming on the show to talk Packers Patriots because he's going to that game. So he's going to be talking about that on a Monday show coming up soon. So we can't wait to have him on. And I can't wait to hear the stories that come from a Packers fan
the
going
Lions
in.
Den.
Yeah, a Packers fan going in there. I know this isn't the first time he's done that. He's done this before. So I'm looking forward to hearing these stories. All right. So, as I said, the Brew Crew. I hope this goes for a long series, and it's definitely good for the Dodgers that Josh Hader went so long yesterday with his availability going forward.
Yes.
But
yeah.
the Brewers are playing really well, timely hitting, and if Aguilar actually is it Aguilar?
Yeah. Aguilar. Yeah.
If he gets hot, because he was hot in the first half, really slumped in the second half. If he gets hot, watch out, because that's a guy. If he starts slugging, whew,
sure, he's a 30-100 guy. Yeah.
I mean, it could be a short series. So tonight we got Ryu versus Wade Miley. Rio's pitched well in the postseason so far, 1-0, got a 0.0 ERA. He's been very consistent for them throughout his career, really. He's just a solid pitcher, seems to pitch well in big games. He's kind of calm. Wade Miley, it's Wade Miley.
It's Wade Miley.
It's just that's all you can really say about Wade Miley because he's not great. He's not, but he can pitch a big game. We'll see how this goes.
Wade Miley is a 4 or 5 in a rotation.
Yeah, and he is starting game 2, which is really odd. And that just goes to show what their rotation's all about. So I would expect the Dodgers to take tonight. Today, because they're playing at 4?
They might need to.
Easter time? I think they're playing at the 1 o'clock game. But I think they're playing at 3 or 4. So they're playing today. I'm anxious to see how that game turns out. It'll be fun to watch because the Dodgers really kind of look old in some certain positions, particularly at third base. Turner, Wolfman, whatever you want, Teen Wolf, whatever you want to call him.
Well, he had a shot last night.
He had a shot, and he has been
97 mile an hour fastball.
He's been big for them before, but this year he's really fallen off the radar. I haven't heard much good about him to the point of I don't even know what his stat line was this year. I know he was hurt a little bit, but he is not putting up. Wasn't going for any batting titles. Wasn't hitting 30 home runs. Wasn't knocking in 100 RBIs. Not this year. And I think he's an average third baseman. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out too. What did you take away from yesterday's game?
No real surprises for me, actually, yesterday. I have the Brewers winning this year. I have the Brewers in the World Series. I had my full bracket is actually completely intact because I had the Yankees losing to the Red Sox, and then I had Houston advancing, so I had that series all set up, and I had this series set up too. So my Final Four is completely intact, and so far so good because I've got the Brewers up 1-0. So. Yeah, nothing really surprising here to me. I feel like the Brewers are a team of almost destiny because they're going to get to the World Series and they're going to get trounced, probably by Boston because that's my pick. But if Houston gets there too, the result could be the same. But I think the Brewers in the National League are absolutely good enough to go to the World Series. I really do. I think they've got everything clicking right now. They've got a manager who's pushing all the right buttons. Yeah. They've got a lineup who hits very, very well, very timely. Yelich is really I'll tell you again, he's got to win the MVP in my opinion. He really does. He's got to win the MVP.
If he doesn't win the MVP this year, something's wrong.
Something is wrong. You're right. Something is absolutely wrong if he does not win the MVP. I'm sorry, but it just is.
He checked all the boxes. He checked all the boxes because he had a great second half, and he did it. He did it at the very end of the season. Had a great very end of the season. He was up for a triple crown. He checked all the boxes. He has to win it.
He could have won the Triple Crown in Game 163. So, but listen, I think this is the Brewers for the taking. They have such a weapon in Hader at the end of those games, man. And yes, he's probably not available today, but I'll tell you, that guy, he's like shut down. Mm-hmm. He is absolutely shut down. I got a little bit of a glimpse of him when I was at the All-Star game.
Yep.
because he pitched, although it was such a weird thing, the only thing anybody was talking about at that time. It was on the day of the All-Star game, just after he'd come out of the game, right? That news broke, about the old tweets or whatever.
He owned up to it though. He was like, "I did it. I'm not going to take him down, and I am going to move forward." He's like, "That was me. I was young. I was stupid.
Right.
I am not like that now. Like that's
right, exactly. But he's absolutely moved on from it, and so has the world, basically, because nobody really cares. And look at the way he's pitching in the postseason. I mean, he's lights out. He's just a weapon right now.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys
out of the bullpen.
He's like
a lefty that slings it. And
you know what it reminded me of a couple of years ago when the Indians were in the World Series, the year they made the World Series and lost in 7 to the Cubs. Andrew Miller, yeah. Just I mean, Frank Cota could bring him out in any spot and he would take care of business.
Yeah.
And the Brewers, that's a big weapon for them, and I think it's going to be enough to get by the Dodgers. I mean, on paper, the Dodgers probably should win this series. They're probably the better team. They've got 2 front-end rotation guys that really should be able to, between Kershaw. But look, the Brewers did what they had to do last night. They kind of, broke the Dodgers early. They beat one of the best pitchers of our generation. And now the Dodgers have to be thinking like, okay, we're going to need Buehler here.
Yeah.
I mean, Buehler's not pitching today, but,
How do I not have that clip, Buehler?
He's going to have to be the guy, though.
Buehler.
So this series, I do expect to go long, maybe even the distance. But if that game 7 in Milwaukee, I like Milwaukee.
All right. I like it. All right. So we will, let's see what we got here. Why is this not working? What's going on? Oh, what? No. Come on. All right. I don't know why that's not working, but it's not working. So that's weird. All right. Okay. So yeah, I expect the series to go pretty long too, mainly because it's just there are some serious holes. I think that Dave Roberts is having a hard time kind of pushing the right buttons right now. Unlike Alex Cora, unlike him, where he pushed all the right buttons by switching the lineup and all that kind of stuff. It was very interesting to see that, like yesterday, how he didn't have Puig in the lineup. He could have used that arm in the lineup yesterday, in right field, in particular, and having their outfield is not great. They don't cover a lot of ground. They're even their shortstop, he doesn't have a great Manny Machado doesn't have great range, has a great arm. Doesn't have great range. The third baseman's kind of susceptible. They are across even their catcher. Catcher made a big error yesterday by not catching a ball that was thrown to him from I can't remember his name. Oh my Lord, center fielder. What's his name? Plays first too. Shorts. He's the son of a baseball player from Dodge. I can't remember his name. Come on, Dave. You know what his name is. You have to.
I'm just enjoying you flail around here a little bit. This is kind of fun.
Name?
It's kind of fun for me.
What's his name?
I don't know. I don't even know. I'm too hungry.
He had 40 home runs home last year, and he had another 30 this year. He's the son of the Yankee. What is his name? Oh my Lord, Cody Bellinger. Oh, God.
Oh, Bellinger.
Yes, he made a bad throw to home, and. Thank you, Damian. I really appreciate that because it was driving me crazy. I can't imagine why. I had him on my fantasy baseball team in the other league that I was in all year, and I kind of wasn't happy about the way
we need to clean up these Saturday shows. They're just a disaster.
So Cody Bellinger he made a bad throw to home.
Oh Lord!
It wasn't that far away from the catcher. Just ended up totally booting the ball, got by him. And thankfully there was pitch, but that moved the runners from first to second to third. I got plenty of coffee right here, man. Tons of it. All right, but thanks anyway, David. So it'll be interesting to see how their team plays going forward. They are in rough shape. Now, before I move on to the next topic, go ahead and give us a little thumbs up, give us a like, and we really appreciate it. Like the video, share the video, all that kind of stuff. Really appreciate it. It really helps get the word out, helps the show grow a little bit. So thank you in advance. But anyway, quickly, let's get into something that we have to talk about because of all the press conferences that happened yesterday. And that is, what happened here?
The state of the Yankees.
Saturday shows.
I have
They'll get you.
Producer hat and host hat. They're tough. They're tough. We need Uncle Casey, the guy who does the commercial. We need him to come.
Well, this becomes a full-time job, and it's a gig, and I mean, I know.
I mean, that's that. We need a producer. I need a producer in my rocking chair right over there saying,
We
wrap
need
up the segment.
we need a Gary Delabate bad. Just so I can say Baba Booey.
Oh, Lord. All right. So there was a press conference yesterday. Hal, Brian, Cashman, Boone, they all ran the gauntlet with interviews. But this is what you sent me last night, and I want you to take a listen to what Hal had to say about his manager. And you got to pay close attention to the end of his statement and who he
hang in there till the end.
Who he might passively aggressively be taking a shot at. All right. So here is the clip.
Now, I have a great fondness for Aaron. I also think he did a good job. But when the team did not go as far as it went last year, and you acquired the National League MVP, is there a moment when you're alone, Hal, and go, gee, did I make the right move not bringing back Girardi?
No, because, look, that was a decision that was years in the making, as I've been into that enough times. Look, we had a significant amount of injuries, a significant duration to significant players, I should say. Mm-hmm. And that clearly did not help the situation. We saw what our lineup was doing without Aaron Boone or Aaron Judge versus with him. It made a big difference. Sanchez being out 2 months, kind of disrupting his entire season. So, look, we had some obstacles to overcome. Every team does, but no, absolutely not. We've got the right guy, and look, he won 100 games. First time we've done that in a decade, mm-hmm. And I guess it feels worse, guys, because the success came at the beginning of the season as opposed to a lot more inconsistency at the end. But the result was still 100 games and a pretty big run differential and a lot of runs scored. And so there it is. But I certainly would not put this on the shoulders of Aaron Boone. As far as if there's anybody or anything to blame, that's not where I would put it.
So it's very interesting to see him kind of passively aggressively taking a bit of a shot at Brian Cashman there.
I would say so. I would say it was a little more than passive aggressive.
But you could easily just say he could easily come out and say that wasn't.
Well, who else could he be talking about though? I mean, who else could he possibly be talking about?
He could be talking about Larry Rothschild. We don't know.
I mean, Larry Rothschild.
He obviously brought everybody, including the general manager. Everybody's coming back next year, which is mind-blowing to me, because if there was one guy who has consistently underperformed,
Rothschild should have been the fall guy.
Rothschild has been consistently underperforming for years. Ever since he put on the pinstripes, he has been underperforming as a pitching coach. Like, there is always pitchers in this lineup, whether it's the bullpen or it's the rotation, that are underperforming. And that's on him. And that's, Sonny Gray, completely underperformed. That's on him. Dalen Betances had that year of struggles. That's on him. And this happens a lot. Severino struggle in the second half. That's on him. It's on the actual pitcher as well, but it is on him because he's supposed to be there working with them on their mechanics, making sure they're not tipping pitches and all that kind of stuff. And he's still being brought back, which is absolutely absurd to me. I don't understand how he must have photos of somebody somewhere.
The problem is ridiculous. The problem is all the things that plagued the Yankees pitching-wise, and there were a lot of things this year, Severino probably being the biggest one when you consider his collapse from the first half into the second half. What scares me about that is if you're bringing this guy back, how do you expect those areas to improve? Are you expecting him to improve? If you're expecting Larry Rothschild to improve at this point in his career, then you need to evaluate yourself, because Brian Cashman without a doubt has the ability to make the decision to get rid of guys like Larry Rothschild or Aaron Boone or Mike Harkey or Marcus Timms. He can get rid of any of these guys. If you're actually going to sit there and tell the fan base, Larry Rothschild did an acceptable job, not only acceptable, but to the point where we are absolutely retaining him this year and giving him a full vote of confidence. I'm not sure what he was watching, because I think we were all watching the same thing. And here's the other thing, too. As somebody who watched enough Yankee games, well over 130 this year probably, if not more than that, I can tell you that I have never seen a pitching coach get panned to more by camera than Larry Rothschild, and it's always because something went wrong with the pitching. He gets panned too. Like, I would say Larry Rothschild has the camera put on him as much as like an opposing manager might have the camera put on him. Like, you would think Larry Rothschild was the manager of the Yankees. If you just watched enough Yankee games, every time there's a pitching faux pas, you see that camera go to Larry Rothschild, you would think he's the manager of the team. That's how often that guy is on camera. It's ridiculous. And he's never on camera for anything good. It's never anything good. If something goes good, sometimes the camera pans to the manager, right? And the manager, but that goes both ways too. But if it's the pitching coach, it's always bad. And same thing probably, like, did you ever see the camera, like, on Marcus Tibbs? Like, ever? No. I never did. No. I never saw the camera pan to him. But Larry Rothschild,
they probably should have, because there was a lot of hitting woes in times
this year. Yeah, that's my point. Especially, my God, every time Giancarlo Stanton had an at bat in the second half, you could have put the camera on Marcus Tibbs. Mm-hmm. That is mind-boggling to me that Larry Rothschild is. It's almost like there was no thought went into that decision whatsoever. It's just immediate. Nope, he's coming back. Yeah, they're all back. This whole coaching staff is back. And there are some things that I do want to unpack though from this Hal interview. Number one, right off the bat, I thought it was pretty funny actually how he basically said, no, we have zero regrets on Joe Girardi, and that was a decision years in the making. I thought that was pretty funny. He didn't pull any punches there. And then,
even Cashman coming out and saying we're trading Sonny Gray. It hasn't worked out.
Yeah, the Yankees were somewhat brutally honest yesterday, which is nice, very refreshing. I actually like listening to Hal Steinbrenner talk for a couple of reasons. One, he doesn't talk much, so when he does talk, you really tend to perk up and listen to what he has to say. And two, he's basically, for lack of a better phrase, the sober version of his dad.
Yes.
I'm not saying George Steinbrenner was a drunk, but you know what I mean. He's a much more toned down version of his dad, but I think he's even smarter. Mm-hmm. I think he's actually a smarter man. And he's a very thoughtful guy, but he didn't pull really too many punches yesterday. I mean, that was a pretty direct shot at Brian Cashman yesterday. That was a shot clearly across the bow, basically saying, I'm watching you. And you know what? And I don't know if Joe is still listening, but the one point that Joe Paceno has made to me, and I do tend to agree with it, because as Yankee fans, our standards are extremely different. The bottom line is, and you could try and argue this the other way, but I think it's really hard to. In roughly 20 years, Brian Cashman has really only truly ever won one World Series, which was the 2009 one. Because if you look at 98 and 99 and 2000 and 2001, those teams were built by Bob Watson and Joe Torre and Gene Michael. He inherited a dynasty, which is strange when you think about it's hard to imagine anybody inheriting a dynasty because, well, he inherited it at basically the start of it. Mm-hmm. He took over as a GM, about 20 years ago, and he inherited those teams, and he won with them as he should have. But really, I'm not saying he doesn't have the ring count. Yeah, he's got the rings. He's got a lot of rings. But the point is, on his own, truly as the GM, like the teams that really truly have his signature on them, it's really only 2009 as far as championship teams. And I think Hal Steinbrenner is saying, we're watching you much more closely than we ever have.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because there's not many general managers, in my opinion, that are better than him. And yes, he wasn't really given the full reins until probably, late 2000s, like 2008, 2009, I think it was. So he's really had the reins, and he did win one championship. But they also really put him in a bad spot for a long time where they were just completely just bleeding money. So he had to correct that. And I think he's done a really good job at doing that. And now he's set himself up for a position where they can go back and not only be dominant in the free agent market, but like really make an impact. Like they can get a Patrick Corbin. They can get a Manny Machado. They can get some relievers like Britton if they wanted to bring him back. They wanted to get Robertson again. They could bring all these players back.
Yes, they can.
They could go after other players. They have the ability to do that this year. And on top of that, he also built up the farm system to the point of where he can make a trade to get in a serious impact player, someone like Madison Bumgarner. So these are, and that is it's unlikely to happen. But if any team has the ability to do that and is willing to do that,
Yankees.
It's the Yankees.
It is.
If they ever wanted to reach out and be like, hey, let's get this thing going. We need to rebuild our farm system because we can't go out and just start blowing money and spending it to get pieces.
And if you think about, the Giants, I was actually starting to think about this the other day too. There are probably only a limited amount of teams that the Giants could make this trade to, where the return would provide you with acceptable assets,
players that can play now, and minor league chips. That's what you need.
And two, the other part of this too is that if you're going to trade a 29-year-old World Series winning ace away, you better trade him to a team where he couldn't hurt you at all. Right. And he literally trading him across the country to an American League team in the Eastern Division is probably the one place where he is almost certain not to hurt you, other than in a regular season game, and if you're lucky enough, in a World Series game.
Yeah, and
that's it.
And that's kind of where everything lies with him, is that and on top of all of that is that with him going to the Yankees, and you say it's not going to affect them. Well, it won't, because the Giants aren't going to be available. Like, those players aren't going to be – they're not going to be something for another 2 to 4 or 5 years. Like, there's so they're not going to – the Giants aren't going to be really contending for years, like a few years down the road. And that's kind of where Bumgarner is going to be in his prime, and where they could really be doing some damage in the playoffs. Right. So that's another situation where they could escape the ghosts of Madison Bumgarner. But he's a lefty. He could pitch well into his late 30s, kind of like CC does, and all these other lefties that are out there who are a little bit more crafty. You can possibly get away with it. But the other thing that we have here is, and this is a guy that I said that should be a part of a trade like that, Sonny Gray. Damian Dyden said Sonny Gray's season looks a lot like his 2016 in Oakland, actually. And the difference with that is that he was there injured in 2016. Like, he was hurt. He kept on going out there, and then he finally took him out, and then he missed most of the season. Yep. This year, he just didn't pitch well. Like, he was missing spots. His stuff was still nasty, but he just wasn't even close. And this is like, it's rare for him to do that on a consistent basis. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter, because he's obviously done as a Yankee. Like, he's not going to be back. He's not coming back next year. They have made it very, very clear that they are going to trade him. I'm fine with them trading him. I think that's a good piece for another. He'd be a great fit in San Francisco as a probably a 2 or a 3 in that rotation. That'd be great. And then you also have other pieces that we have, like a Chance Adams or a Justice Sheffield. I don't think they're going to part with Justice Sheffield. They also have bats that Wade is a good defensive second baseman with speed. His bat hasn't shown much life in the pros, which I think is the problem why he's kind of dipped so much in the 100 in the Yankees' top prospects. But I think overall they do have a lot of chips to be able to trade. I think someone like an Andujar could be in that. I don't think they want to give up Andujar either, but they are going to have to make room. They have to make room, and then we also got the which kind of also sparked something in the Yankee text group. With the Yankees is Didi has to have his
Tommy John
surgery, and that was kind of shocking for all of us. He's not going to have the same rehab as a pitcher would, but he is a shortstop, so he's going to have to strengthen his arm. And that it usually affects you kind of have the numbness of the fingers too. So it could be interesting to see how that all plays out as a shortstop. But we're going to need a shortstop, and I had said. Gleyber Torres is not a shortstop. He is a occasional shortstop, to fill in, to give Didi a rest or something like that. But if you can't put him in there every day, doesn't have the range. He's slow as dirt. I mean, I didn't realize how slow he was.
Until he tried legging out that soft grounder.
I was like, that Jeter could have beaten that out when he was 39.
Jeter would have beaten that out. Yes, he would have. He would have.
And he wasn't fast at that point in time. I mean, he had long legs, but he wasn't fast. And this guy, he's really slow. And I was shocked to see how slow he was. So anyway, there's a lot going on. Lots of stuff's going to be up in the air. You're going to see lots of moves. I am excited as a Yankee fan. I'm not excited to see the season end already. I did though. I checked. I picked the Yankees to win 100 games this year. They did. They didn't win the division like I thought they were going to win.
No, I mean, if you go back to the beginning, you and I actually both picked the Yankees to win the division, which I never should have done. Against my better judgment, I should not have done that, because you know how this works with me. If I think good things are going to happen, they're not going to happen. It's when I think the bad things are going to happen that's when the good things happen.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you picked it, but we were both saying that it was going to be a back and forth between the Red Sox, and either way, I think I know, but it was that way for the first half.
For the first half, yeah.
And then the Yankees just completely turned into a different team. Like, it was just.
Well, no, the Boston Massacre took place, and that was the end of the season. I mean, that was the actual end of the season. If you really look at it, I mean, not just the regular season. That, I think, really crushed them, because they realized in a big series, when we needed to step up, we could not beat the Red Sox. And that played out in the regular season. I mean, in the postseason, just as I've said for years. As
I was talking about Gleyber Torres and everything, Joe Pacento said Jeter would have hit it one into the bleachers. Yeah, maybe he might have, but he definitely would have beaten out that dribbler. That's for sure.
Captain Clutch, he would have beaten that out. Yeah,
he would have beaten that out and he would have gotten the team all fired up, and he would have given a little Jeter fist pump. It would have been great. All right, so. That's pretty much it for the Yankees. And is there anything else that you want to talk about the Yankees?
No, I just think the one thing is I feel like it's just going to be a very, very fascinating offseason, because there are so many things they can do. They have financial flexibility. They have chips to make trades. They have a ton of international signing money.
This team is not going to look the same.
It's going to be very different. This team is as well positioned as they have ever been to set themselves up for success, not only for next year, but for many, many years to come. I can't wait to see how it plays out. Like, to be honest, December can't come fast enough. You know how I feel about Christmas anyway, but like, December just cannot come fast enough, because I'm so excited to see what they do with this team. There's just so many different possibilities, so many different guys. They're almost playing with Monopoly money right now.
So Damian, he had to do take a little shot.
Get in the hole!
Yeah. He said, what do their handicaps look like? So yeah, thank you, Damian. I appreciate it.
Get your shots in. Yeah. Get your shots in. You've earned it. Yeah. You've earned it. But remember, all of this that you're dishing out now will return to haunt you next year. Do I look like I'm joking?
And he also said,
I'm going to bring it next year.
Joe Pacento says, not with Cashman steering the ship.
Let's see.
He hates him. I don't understand. I don't get it. I get it.
I understand that.
I don't understand.
I get it. I'm starting to come on board with Joe. I mean, Joe is like me. Joe can be very over the top, right? But at the same time, I do think there's some merit there in what he's saying. I think that if you look at the body of work over the last 20 years, technically speaking, Brian Cashman does have all these rings, but how many of those did he really, truly earn? I would say one. And the one that he earned, he threw $500 million at CeCe Sabathia, A.J. Burnett, and Mark Teixeira. He had to win the World Series that year.
And he did.
In many ways, I'm with Joe. He kind of has one ring in 20 years that he's really, truly
That's a lot
earned.
more than a lot of other teams.
Again, though, but we're held to a different standard. That's the way it is.
We went 20 years without winning a championship before. Like, relax. Like, that's the thing, is that you can't win a championship. It's very difficult to win a championship here.
But the mentality.
We got lucky with having that core four. We got very lucky with that.
You can't say that, though, because the mantra, that's not from us. That edict comes down from the Steinbrenners. Right. That has been ever since the 70s.
Right.
It's been considered a disaster if you came up with anything less than a commissioner's trophy. Anything less was deemed unsuccessful. That was not a Yankee fan thing. We adopted that, but that came from George. Then it was passed down to Hal.
Yeah.
That is not a Yankee fan thing. That is an ownership thing. And I'm sorry. We adopted that from ownership. So if ownership is going to go out there and say anything less than a championship is unacceptable, well, then the fans are going to pick up on that too. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can, absolutely. My wife actually posted, remember 1 hour ago when you told me there was nothing to say about the Yankees?
There's a lot to say about the Yankees, right? This is the most, outside of them being in the postseason, this is like the most.
I could talk about the Yankees forever. I mean, that's just when it comes down to it. But there's, and there was that the press conference, so that definitely added some fuel. But anyway, as far as the Yankees go, I mean, there was a long drought from the 80s all the way up through the mid-90s.
Yeah, that was the time we grew up with and suffered through.
Right.
Yeah.
And that happens. And we are nowhere near that disaster. We are actually in the hunt. We almost went to the World Series last year with a team that had no business being there. So relax with the Brian Cashman stuff. And I think we are much closer than you think. And I'm fine with it. This will be a very interesting offseason. I mean,
I would say this is his most important offseason ever because he
set himself up for.
He set himself up for this. He's never had more resources available to him in terms of trade chips, in terms of money, and in terms of international signing dollars. He's never had more available to him than he has right now.
He set himself up very well.
The spotlight
is on him. That is a sign of a true general manager. He set himself up to have the ability to have some serious success, and that's what.
But the caveat, of course, is if we are having this same conversation in a year, i.e., the conversation where
he won't be back.
Okay, well there you go then.
Because I mean Hal just kind of alluded to that in his little talk. Yeah, like we're kind of keeping an eye on it. Like the manager's not to blame, which he's wrong. I mean if he is seriously telling you that. Yeah, he made some mistakes like a rookie manager did. No. He made tons of mistakes. So
made a lot of mistakes.
I mean,
so many.
If he's overlooking that makes me a little worried too. I mean, and Larry Rothschild, if you're overlooking that makes me a little worried too. Like Hal seems to have his he seems to have his hand on the pulse of the whole team and everything like that. But if you're overlooking those major cogs, it makes me a little worried that he doesn't actually have a good handle on the pulse of the team.
Yeah, all right. It's too bad. It's too bad. We would have liked to have both seen him pull Cohen out of the yes booth and insert him as the pitching coach. At the very least.
Bench, pitching, anywhere. Just get him in that locker room. He is
somewhere.
So knowledgeable.
And it's, like you would think that they would want to pull guys like, especially when you've got these guys like in your booth too, like O'Neal and like Coney and guys who have won and were such a crucial part of those dynasty, those core years.
And he knows he has the gut for it.
And they can impart the knowledge. He has
a gut for it. He's a statistical genius. Like he has all the skills you want. He has
and as a Yankee fan, wouldn't you love to see Paul O'Neill and David Cone roaming around in the dugout and in the bullpen? Oh my God, I'd love that.
Yeah,
I'd love that.
There's some people that I would just love to see in that dugout. Like, I mean, you almost want to have like Tino Martinez in there as your enforcer, jacking people up.
I'd love to have Tino in there. Yeah, I mean,
he's an intense dude. I love Tino Martinez.
There's so many guys. There are some. Look, it's like
let's just in there.
Let's just wrap it up. This is one of the most
Sanchez in the kidney.
Yeah, and let's just put a bow on this. This is one of the most important off seasons the Yankees have had in many, many years. I would say at least since 2009. So you're going on about a decade now since your last title, and especially if, as I suspect, Boston comes home with a championship, which I think they're going to. If all of that, but even if they don't, and Houston wins another one. That's another. I mean, then you're set. Now Houston is setting themselves up for a dynasty because if you win 3, that's how it is. So it's a big offseason for it's as big as it's ever been.
Indeed. All right, so let's head on over to. Actually, we'll play our commercial real quick. We'll be right back after this. So again, share the page, like it, give us thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. Comment in the comment section if you have any questions. We're going to be tackling football in just a few minutes. We're going to go over a Thursday night football recap, and then we're going to get right over into our Sunday picks. So we'll be right back after this. We're going to play our commercial. We'll see you in about 30 seconds.
I like beer.
Gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bryman. 75% sports and 25% sorts.
All right.
There's so much noise in this house. Saturday mornings, man.
Rhinos, baby. You gotta
God.
leash up those rhinos. Hashtag rhinos. So, we got some Thursday Night Football to talk about. Thursday Night Football recap. Eagles destroyed the Giants. We both picked the Eagles to win that game. I think you picked it a little bit wider of a score. I don't remember exactly the score you had.
I don't either. I know we had the same result.
Yeah, we kind of picked them. We both picked them to win. I put the score down. You were still up on me, I think, by 5.
And I'm getting myself. More importantly for me, I'm getting myself further over the 500 threshold.
Yes, yeah, very much so. I mean, you're 16 and 8.
Oh, that can't be right. 16 and 8?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
Yes, it's very good. It's tremendous. I, on the other hand, am 11 and 13. So I'm trying to reach to catch up, which is a problem. So
yeah, well, we've got some games that could cause some separation this weekend. So
we'll see. All right, so let's get into it. Eagles destroyed the Giants. Carson Wentz, like I had said, Carson Wentz is starting to click. The offense is starting to click. Their defense is starting to click a little bit better. The Giants can make any defense look good at this point in time, which is, there is all sorts of talk about Eli Manning and them possibly benching him again because he is just playing check down football and he's terrified in the pocket because he's constantly getting hit. Their offensive line is disastrous. So it's very interesting to see how all that plays out. I'm nervous as a Bills fan because I was hoping that the Bills would get the first overall pick and they could trade that pick to the Giants. But as of right now, the Giants are looking to get that first overall pick if they keep playing the way that they're doing. I don't expect them to continue this. I expect them to win a few games at some point in time. They have too much talent to really, especially Saquon Barkley. He has been tremendous for them. And I just don't expect them to keep playing the way that they're playing. Eventually they're going to turn it around. Sometime they're going to get some breaks. They're not going to have 63-yard field goals beat them. So stuff will turn around a little bit. I hope as a Bills fan. But anyway, do you have any thoughts that you wanted to kind of touch on about the Eagles-Giants game?
Well, I think at this point, if you're the Giants, you need to start tearing it down. You're 1-5, and you may be easily the worst team in football. You just lost a home game to, yes, the defending Super Bowl champions, but a team that needed that win just to pull at 500. So you may be the worst team in the worst division in football.
It's like the worst division, but it's also the most competitive division right now.
Yeah, but not for the right reasons. It's like all these bad to below average teams competing with each other. So they're all kind of bunched together in a sense, with the exception of the Giants at 1-5. But do you put Alex Tanney in a game? Do you put Kyle Lauletta in a game at this point? What are you? The only thing I can see really happening here is Eli Manning getting hurt. I just don't see. If you're the Giants, you need to get the clock moving on the future. And right now, the future.
But they don't have a future in quarterback. That's why they need it.
I don't know. That's why I'm saying. But I'm saying, what do you do with these other guys? Do you throw them in and at least give them a shot? Yeah. It can't hurt you. There's no chance.
It can in the draft. If they do win a couple of games that way, that could hurt. That could hurt them. Because it's not. It is Eli's fault. Because he's not playing great, but it's real. His offensive line has been terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Their offensive line pass blocking is terrible.
Yeah, which I'm sure is shocking to them when you consider who they acquired.
You
got Solder, and then you draft Will Hernandez with your second pick over. Your second pick, you're thinking, okay, our offensive line is set.
Yeah. Nope.
And it's a disaster.
He is under fire all the time, and he's not a mobile quarterback. So,
and again, they don't have, and on the other side of the trench, they don't have much of a pass rush. Olivier Vernon is constantly hurt. He did actually play this week, but that team just is you got to blow it up. Yeah, I mean, and if you're a Giants fan, you've got to be saying we gotta blow this thing up.
I don't think you can, because I think you still have to look for the future. And
well,
I think the future is next year. You have it's a great quarterback coming out, Herbert. Herbert, I think.
Oregon.
Oregon. He is a really talented quarterback. He's coming out. Most likely, he's coming out this year.
And he's definitely.
And on top of that, he is the guy that you could lean on, and he's not going to be good in the first year. He's not. It's very rare where a rookie quarterback will play great in the first year, but you need this team to really be what they are and be a good like their defense is underperforming, their offensive line underperforming. OBJ is throwing hissy fits on the sideline. There's a lot of stuff going on that's bad. So they really just need to correct that before they move forward.
I mean, he headbutted a fan the other night.
Like not a fan in the stands.
A fan.
An actual fan.
Actual blowing
fan. It was a missed fan, and he headbutted it. And he said that was going to like fire up his team. That doesn't fire up a team.
No, that just makes you scratch your head and say, "What's wrong with this guy? Like, why we gave this guy $90 million?"
Pretty crazy.
He has this thing for going after inanimate objects, doesn't he?
He went after a net last year, and
the net was actually
the net
funny.
Kicked his butt. I mean,
the net beat him. He lost the net.
It's tremendous. But anyway,
that team is just an absolute mess. I'm sorry. There's just no other way to put it.
And the
They're
great thing,
almost every sense.
The best thing that came out of that game was
well, let me tell you something, brother.
Was when Carson Wentz, the man, the myth, the legend, said, Hulk Hogan, as an
in Omaha, in Omaha fashion
at the line of scrimmage. I mean, that was.
And then Hogan tweeted at it during the game.
Yes.
It's all setting up perfectly for Hogan's comeback, which is going to be soon. So
yes, it's so good. All right, so now let's get into our picks for this coming Sunday. Who you got? Who's your first game?
So I'll do 1:00 game, first game, big game, huge game actually, divisionally speaking here. Steelers at Bengals. This was tough, and it was really, really hard. I've got this being a close game, but I think if the Steelers are going to make any noise in this division and win this division the way we all thought they were going to, this is a game they have to win on the road. You have to go into Cincinnati, and you have to win this game. And I know you're still without Le'Veon Bell. I know you still have a defense that's a sieve. And I know that there are probably more questions than there are answers in Pittsburgh right now. But here's the one definitive thing: is if you're going to win this AFC North, you have to go into Cincinnati and win that game. Now, Cincinnati is feeling good about themselves right now. They came off of a huge comeback win against the Dolphins last week where they were down 17-0. But here's what I would warn you about that game. Keep in mind the competition there.
Yep.
You beat to me, and look, as a Dolphins fan, I know that team, unfortunately, better than most. You beat a bad Dolphins team. You came back on a bad Dolphins team in your home, and you beat them. I mean, you did what you had to do. You beat a team that you're better than. But now you're facing a team that has haunted you for many years, and that you actually might be better than this year, or at least you're as close as you have been. There's certainly more balance, let's put it that way. I mean, the Steelers still probably have more weapons offensively, but the Bengals are clearly better on defense. They've got a pretty good defensive line, and they can get to the quarterback. But I just, again, I'm one of those prove it to me guys, and I need to see the Bengals do it before I can pick them to do it. And I think the Steelers go in. I think it's a hard fought battle. I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring affair.
Yep.
But I've got the Steelers in this one, 33-28.
Ooh, that is a close game. So as you had alluded to a little bit, Pittsburgh has actually won the last 5 matchups against the Bengals. They've kind of dominated them.
This is a defense that the Bengals need to exercise for sure.
Yeah, and the Bengals do, particularly the guy who I have sided with this year against Matt Ryan, and that is the Red Rifle. Andy Dalton has he has not performed well against the Steelers. He has really shrunk in these games. So he needs to take another leap this year, and he needs to do that. And, this is a team like the Bengals. You really kind of see the gaps of coaches here. And this is like two coaches that are kind of on the hot seat, both of them, really. They should both be on the hot seat between Tomlin and Lewis. They need to be on the hot seat because their teams have underperformed, for many, many different reasons. Like last year, they didn't. There was multiple times, even though they went 13-3, multiple times the Steelers had a two-minute drill situation and looked lost and couldn't get on the same page. And that's total coaching. Marv Lewis, his team has been terrible for a couple of years, so it's been kind of brutal. But they really need Dalton to take the corner here and really man up. It's October. The coaches have kind of settled into their teams, see if they can keep it going. It'll be interesting to see how that game plays out. I think that's going to be a really good game. All right, so I have the Colts versus the Jets as my first one. And yes, I know it's not two great wild teams here, but I do like the matchup between a stud quarterback in Andrew Luck and an up-and-coming quarterback in Sam Darnold. And I think you kind of get to see what maybe Sam Darnold could possibly turn into is into an Andrew Luck type of player. And the Jets, they are just right now, because they have a young quarterback, they're terrible in the red zone. And they're terrible in the red zone on both offense and defense, which is weird because their defense has always kind of been pretty good. And this year, for some reason, their defense has just been bad, particularly in the red zone. They're giving up points every single time, particularly touchdowns. So that's kind of tough to overcome, especially when you can't score touchdowns when you're in the red zone because you have a rookie quarterback. And that's going to happen, and that should get better as the season goes on. And their running game hasn't been very good. And when you look at the Colts, on the other hand, their defense isn't great. But Andrew Luck has kind of quietly been having a phenomenal season. He still has a hard time with the deep ball. He's not really connecting like he used to. But that is getting better. It's getting a little sharper, and it should get sharper as the season goes on. I expect, Andrew Luck to have another pretty darn good game. His D-line, the D-line for the Colts is going to get on top of Sam Darnold, and they're going to be able to stop the run again, because it seems like that happens every week with them. But most off, I just think that Andrew Luck is going to have a big game here, like he has pretty much all season. He's going to throw for over 300 yards. He's going to have a few touchdowns. He's going to get into the red zone. He's going to score. So I picked this game. I think the Colts are going to win 30-24. I think it's going to be relatively close, but I expect the Jets to probably kick a field goal, kind of late, to possibly give them a chance to may have another score to win the game or something like that. But I just can't pick them to win against Andrew Luck right now.
Okay.
All right. What's your next team? Who you got?
Next one. This isn't often. I tend to steer away from Dolphins games, but I am gonna go with the Bears at Dolphins. Also in a 1:00 tilt tomorrow. Mm-hmm. This should be the beginning of the end for the Dolphins. This should be the game that starts to put the nails in the coffin for them.
Yeah.
And hopefully has them focusing on blowing this whole thing up. And if that means getting rid of the coach, if that means, getting rid of all these coordinators, finally being done with Ryan Tannehill, we now finally have a definitive answer on who Ryan Tannehill is. And the answer is unfortunately it took 7 years. I mean, it takes 7 years to become a doctor. If you're a Miami Dolphins quarterback, you get a 7-year leash to prove yourself, which is absolutely unbelievable. But I think this is all going to come crashing down, and I think it's going to come crashing down in a very, very ugly and embarrassing way tomorrow. I think the Dolphins are going to be overwhelmed on both sides of the ball. Their defense is going to be on their heels all day with Trubisky and Jordan Howard and Trey Burton. And there's just going to be way too much. They're not going to be able to generate any kind of a pass rush against the Bears' offensive line. The Dolphins are horribly banged up. They're coming off of 2 absolutely demoralizing losses. I mean, one loss where you were just completely dominated by the Patriots. You went in there and you proved everybody right, and you just got your rears handed to you. And then last week, which I think is maybe one of the worst losses by a Dolphin team in maybe the last half decade. To be up 17-0 on a Bengals team, especially the way that the Dolphins had done it, the way they had bounced back against, after the adversity of losing to the Patriots, you bounce back in a big way. You look absolutely dominant in the first half. You go into the half up 14-0 against the Bengals. You actually make it 17-0 early in the third, and then you completely collapse and you end up losing by 10. Had to be one of the worst Dolphin losses, and I just unfortunately think for the Dolphins the trend is going to continue that way. The injuries have absolutely piled up to some of the most integral guys on this team, guys that you really could not have get hurt on this team, especially on the offensive line, which they completely rebuilt this offseason. Your offensive line has basically been wiped out and pushed back to what it was before. But here's what's really going to happen tomorrow. The big thing is that Khalil Mack is going to be living in the Dolphins' backfield. And there's just going to be pressure coming at Tannehill from all sides. I mean, he thought it was ugly last week with the Bengals defense getting 2 defensive touchdowns on him. I think this could be even worse. I have this as an absolute bloodletting at 38-17 Bears, and I'm shocked that I'm actually even giving the Dolphins 17, to be honest. I may even change that number. But at this point, I don't see any. And the only reason why the Bears stopped scoring points, the only reason is because they let up late in the game, and I think they start playing like their second teamers, even at quarterback.
Okay.
But for the first half, I mean, it could be 30-3 in the first half.
That's brutal. All right,
it's not good.
It's not what you want. All right, so I had many games that I kind of picked, and I ended up choosing 2. This one I'm picking is because it's America's team, and I think America wants to hear about it. They might not want to hear what I have to say, particularly a friend of mine, Keith Sherry, another friend, Mark Chansky. They are both big-time Cowboy fans. Mark is with me, though, my buddy Mark. He is very much on the same page that he is not a fan of Dak, has never really been a fan of Dak. A lot of other, I think a lot of other Cowboy fans are starting to get onto that trend. I've been on it from the beginning that I just did not see the quarterback that everybody else was talking about. So I have the Jags versus the Cowboys. And this is a Dallas team that is one of the worst offensive teams in the league. They have nobody to throw to for a wide receiver or tight end. Their running back is a tremendous talent, and he's great at catching the ball. He's good at running the ball. The problem is when you don't have any other weapons, he becomes less useful. So Dak is having a really difficult time. They're letting him run a little bit more. That doesn't seem to really help all that much because, like as I mentioned, they are one of the worst teams across the board offensively. And the Jags defense is crazy good. Like, they are one of the best defensive teams in football. So this is leading to an absolute bloodbath. Like, this is going to be embarrassing. Like, this is going to be embarrassing. And they were embarrassed last week. And this should be even worse. The Cowboys, this should be even worse. This is going to, they are going to, the Jags, they actually were embarrassed last week, and they should come out on fire, both on offense and defense. And I feel bad for the physical beating that the Cowboys are going to take this week because they are great in the secondary. They have great pass rushers. They have great linebackers. They are just tremendous on defense. And this going up against an awful offensive team is going to be an absolute beatdown. I actually have the Cowboys scoring some points, but I think that's going to be just because they're either the Jags are a little overly aggressive and maybe make some mistakes before they kind of get back into their flow because of how bad they got beat last week. Particularly their defense. Defense just got manhandled. So I expect the Jags to have huge points. If you have them in your fantasy league, they are going to put up a huge number this week. I have the Jags winning 30-17. I think that this is going to be, like I said, an absolute beatdown. Absolute. They are going to be on fire, take no prisoners, and it's going to be fun to watch if you hate the Cowboys. It'll be fun to watch if you're a Jaguars fan. If you're a football fan, it might be a little boring because It's a defense going up against a bad offense. But that also, to me, I think that's kind of fun. When you see the defense making lots of plays, whether it's intercepting the ball, sacking, it can be a lot of fun to watch. And I expect the Jags just absolutely come down and beat them into the ground, which means they'll probably win. So the Cowboys will probably win.
I don't think so. No, I'm with you on that. I mean, that to me seems like one of those suicide, picks that you would want to make.
Yeah, there are a couple games that are out there that, like the Rams versus the Broncos. I think that's going to be a good game.
I almost took that one. But I kind of wish I had, only because of the weather, because it's expected to snow in Denver tomorrow. And actually, it was
that's
funny.
That's going to slow down the greatest show.
And actually, that's why I made a change last night in one of my leagues where I have Jared Goff as my quarterback and also Ben Roethlisberger. I switched it. I put Roethlisberger back in because I don't trust. The snow slows everything down.
Yeah.
And it really, really takes away from the passing game, and I can't expect Jared Goff to put up big numbers in a snow.
Brandon Cooks is not going to be as much of an impact because of that. Gurley should have a big game, and then possibly someone like Robert Woods should probably have a pretty game for fantasy because he is good at going over the middle, and you don't have Cooper Kupp, so he's going to need to fill that role a little bit too. So because I don't know if Cooper Kupp's going to play or not. I think he was doubtful. I thought he was at least questionable with concussion, and Brandon Cooks was questionable, but he's going to play this week, so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays.
By the way, real quick, I just want to say if the Eagles don't win the NFC East by I would say week 11 of the season, it's a total. There needs to be like an investigation into them because it's on them if they don't.
Yeah,
that is absolutely horrifying division.
All right.
It's awful.
Let's get into it. Sunday Night Football. We have the Chiefs at the Patriots. I think they're playing.
Game of the week?
Yes. Yeah, wait. Oh, is it what? Is it?
Oh, it's the game of the week.
Is it the game of the week?
Oh, no, it is.
The game of the week? I have to find the clip. Hold on.
Yeah,
ready?
no, I know. We're following you. That is just not even remotely clear that voice is saying game of the week. It's like one of those Yanni and Laurel things. You either hear it or you don't.
Well, it's just what it says. Now you hear it.
Oh, my God.
All right, so Chad Davis asked us, how do you guys feel about the new Pet Sematary trailer? We can talk about that again a little bit later. We touched on it last week, but we can talk about it again at the end, real briefly, because we're going to be talking about the Aladdin trailer, teaser trailer, which is, we'll see. All right, so let's get into it. Sunday Night Football, Chiefs at New England. Who you got?
The Patriots. Who else?
Mahomie DeClown.
Yeah, as much as I would love to really believe that there's going to be a changing of the guard here, there is a frightening statistic that bothers me. And it always seems to – these statistics always pop up when the Patriots host home games where you think there's a possibility that they're going to lose.
Mm-hmm. I think you have the same statistic that I do. Well, at least I know of.
Is it the quarterbacks under 25 wwho have gone into Foxborough and won?
It's that and rookie quarterbacks in general. Yeah.
25 quarterbacks who are 25 years old or younger going into Foxborough and winning. Their record is 1-41. That is not a good average.
Staggering.
If you were a baseball player,
you are not a baseball player.
You would be bad. That is
You're Giancarlo Stanton in the playoffs.
And again, that's one of those statistics where you have to look at it and you say, I can't pick against that other team unless I see it happen. Unless I see Patrick Mahomes go into the Lions' den on Sunday night and beat the Patriots head-to-head. Mm-hmm. If the game was in Kansas City, it's a completely different story. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm picking the Chiefs to win that game. Because the Chiefs are still going to score points in this game. This is one of those things that on paper somewhat defies logic because it's more of a gut pick than it is a statistical, what makes sense, compare the two teams' rosters kind of pick. Because everything points to the Chiefs being able to go into New England and win that game. But here are a couple of things we know. One, and even though I'm not a huge believer in this, the more time Bill Belichick has to prepare for an opponent, the worse off it is for the opponent. He's had 10 days to prepare for this. He's been looking at film up and down. I'm sure he has dissected every possible weakness that the Chiefs have on offense and especially on defense, because the Chiefs are not a very good defensive team. And that is something that Brady, with these weapons that he now has, and a defined number one running back in Sony Michel, that he can exploit. Mm-hmm. And he will exploit, because the Chiefs are going to give up a ton of points in this game, 30 plus. And we'll get to that when we get to the final score. And Patrick Mahomes looks like he's the goods. I don't think anybody is really questioning that at this point.
Minor step back last week with 2 picks.
But the nerves are going to be on him this week. This is a national spotlight game. You're going into the home of the reigning, defending AFC champions, and it's just going to be too much for him. It's going to be too much for him to overcome. I think he's going to be holding on to the ball a little too long. I think he's going to be patting the ball a little too long. I think there's just going to be too many elements between the fans, between the aura and the mystique of the Patriots in that building. And I think it's just going to be too much for Patrick Mahomes to overcome. And I think he's actually going to have a bad game. Ooh. And I'm going to go with 36-24 Patriots.
36-24. Well, you have the game a lot further apart than I do. I'm with you. I had a similar stat. Basically whenever they play a rookie quarterback, and this is basically Patrick Mahomes' rookie season. He didn't really play much last year. He had like 1 game or 2 games under his belt, but he didn't play much. And this is his rookie. And Belichick he just has a way of just dominating rookie quarterbacks, because he gives schemes that the rookie quarterbacks just have not seen, and the rookie quarterbacks get confused and dazed, and then they start wobbling, and then they don't know what they're doing, and then before you know it, they've thrown 3 interceptions, or they're getting sacked a bunch. Now, this defense for the Patriots isn't the same. It's not the same defense that we've had from years past, where it's a bend, don't break. They have been breaking a lot more, which is why I think the score is going to be so high on both sides, because I do think Patrick Mahomes will have a good game, but I think he's going to be playing catch-up most of the time, particularly in the second half, where I think that even if they're ahead in the first half, I still feel like you're going to feel like he's still trying to play catch-up, because he knows that Tom Brady's just going to keep running down the field and scoring points. Like whether it's a field goal or it's a touchdown, he's just going to keep going down the field and scoring points. So I feel like the pressure is constantly going to be on him, like it hasn't been so far this year, and because he has another guy who's going to be just picking apart his defense. So I'm with you. I do feel like the Patriots are going to win here. I have them winning 38-35. I think that like I said, the Patriots are just they are healthy. Like if they want, I think Josh Gordon still isn't really being implemented as he should. He should get more, because I think Hogan is kind of injured right now. I think he has like a little bit of a quad issue. So if he doesn't play, Josh Gordon's going to get more snaps, and that's dangerous for any team that's facing the Patriots, because if he's getting more snaps, he's going to get the ball, because he gets open. He's big. He's strong. He's fast. He has everything that you want. He has great hands. He is going to cause some serious problems with that defense. And then on top of that, Gronk's healthy. And then on top of that, you have Edelman, who's back. They are just going to be able to pick apart that. And with Sony Michel obviously playing like almost every year, they just find these random running backs who do well for them, and then go to other places and just fall apart. They are just going to be in a great situation to win this game. So I feel like the Patriots are just gonna kind of dominate this game offensively, and their defense will hold enough to basically keep the Chiefs at bay. But the Chiefs have so many weapons. I mean, Hill, Hunt, Kelsey, they have Watkins now too. Like, they have so many weapons. I can't see, because the Patriots defense is not good, I can't see them not scoring a bunch of points. Like, I think Mahomie the Clown has really shown enough skill set to be able to put a huge chunk of points up against this Patriots team. I just don't think it's going to be quite enough, particularly with that record that Bill Belichick has against those young quarterbacks. So, yeah, I have 38-35. You have 36-24. We both have the Patriots scoring a bunch of points. I think I have Tom Brady in one of my leagues. I also have Jared Goff. Jared Goff is on the bench. I have Tom Brady starting, because he is just going to put up astronomical points this week. All right. So what did you have for Steelers-Bengals score? It was like 30 something or 30-28 something? I don't know.
30, was it 30, was it 33-27? I mean, I had the Steelers winning. So, I don't know, 33-27.
And what about the Dolphins-Bears game? You had
38-17.
38-17, okay. Yeah. All right, so I have all that down. Now we'll get into, I guess, a little bit of this, which is our sorts.
Where do you think you're going? I'm going to sort it out.
We're going to sort it out with our... That was... So I, bumped the desk, and it, shook right when the shotgun went off. That was pretty cool.
That's good.
It's totally meant to do that. We're really on top of all the stuff with the show. So so we had the... Chad wanted to know how we felt about the Pet Sematary trailer. I watched it. I didn't particularly love the trailer. I had a terrible... I hated the Pet Sematary movies. The originals, they freaked me out. They were so incredibly freaky, and I will not go see this in the theater. I'm not a big horror guy. You are. I think you said you liked it, right?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. I think it trends in the same direction that the It remake went, and I suspect it'll probably be... the thing with It was that was like a really, really great... It was kind of funny because it wasn't really that scary. I just thought it was an excellent story, like a really good drama kind of thriller. I think Pet Sematary is probably going to be a little bit scarier, but I like the trend of these remakes of these classic Stephen King novels, and if it is any indication of where Pet Sematary will go, then I have high hopes for it, and I really did like the trailer.
Okay. All right. So, and then we also wanted to talk about Aladdin, right? How did you feel about the teaser trailer for Aladdin?
Well, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. It was, a lot of build up to just the one scene at the end where Aladdin's holding up the genie bottle. I mean, you're not going to get much for an initial teaser trailer. I mean, my God, how much of this thing has even been shot at this point? But it was mostly desert footage, right? Wasn't that what you mostly saw? And then then there was sort of the temple there or whatever. And then you see Aladdin, kind of the camera's kind of panned down on him, and he's sort of he's got the lamp. But I mean, just in general though, I'm interested to see Will Smith as the genie. Oh wow, really? Oh wow.
Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide?
Boy. Well, I don't know. Whatever thoughts I had, I think I just lost. So there's that.
All right. So yeah.
Honestly, I took very little from this. It's a teaser trailer. I don't even want to use it as any kind of a measuring stick for what I think the movie could be.
I can't say that I loved the look of the actor who was playing Aladdin, but that's all you really got. I did like the look of everything else.
Pretty much the only guy you saw. Yeah.
I liked the look of everything else. Everything else was great. I liked the look of the sand, the desert, and the castle out in the background.
I like the sand and the desert.
It looked good though. Like that, they had the little castle thing that's kind of made out of sand that he goes into and gets the treasure and it swallows him up, and the voice and everything. It was all really good.
Sure,
but you didn't get a lot, and it's going to be tough to really be on board with this until when you see the genie. And you see Jasmine, and you see her father, and you see all that stuff. You see these actors that are portraying these legends, these Disney legends. So it'll be very fun. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I don't know how good it'll be, but I'm looking forward to it. Do you think they're gonna have? Did they get Gilbert Gottfried to do the bird again? Yago? Is that what his name is?
Yeah, I don't know. Who cares?
Come on, who cares? You don't want to see Aladdin?
I was never a huge Aladdin guy. That was not one of my favorite.
Oh my lord!
Of the Disney movies, my Disney movies are kind of probably a little different than you might think. I wasn't a big Aladdin guy.
Did you like Little Mermaid?
Little Mermaid is okay. I mean, yeah, I recognize it as a classic. My favorite Disney movie of all time is Robin Hood. I mean, it's just
that's great. It's great.
Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest. Oodle lolly golly, what a day. I mean,
it's good. I mean, it's no Men in Tights, but
what is?
That's a great movie. I love that movie. Oh my God, you lost your arms, but you have magnificent.
Oh boy. Well, it's about that time. I think we've done all we can today. And,
nice. My son just got his book. That's great. He's happy. He went to the mailbox. Got a book delivered, and he's excited and he's stoked, and he's going to start reading it right now.
What's the book?
It's the latest Amulet series. It's like a graphic novel. It's like the 8th book or something like that. It's ridiculous. And he's loved every single one of them, and he'll probably rip through it in about an hour or less. Yeah. He loves it.
The girls really, Caitlin, well, not anymore so much, but she was big into Goosebumps. I think she's read almost every Goosebumps thing. We're actually excited to go see that movie.
He has a bunch of the Goosebumps books, but he's only probably read about maybe a handful. He never fully got into that series, and now he's been reading Percy Jackson. So he's actually on the third Percy Jackson book. He's probably almost halfway through it now.
I liked the first Percy Jackson movie that they did.
Yeah, the second one was terrible.
The second one was really bad. Yeah. The first one very enjoyable though. Yeah. I like that one a lot.
Where he wants to watch that. He wants to watch the first 2 movies and see how close to the book they are and all that kind of stuff. Because he read the first one, read the second one, and now he's on to the third one. He's been ripping through one of those books like every other week. Like he really enjoys those. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool though. I mean, it's pretty cool books too. All right, so that's pretty much it for our show. Anything else you wanted to touch on today, buddy?
No.
Buddy man? No.
No. I'm good.
You don't have any more swords. None of that.
No, although the only thing I will say is I'm very, very happy that Supernatural came back for it started up its season.
Yeah.
This week I think it was on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. Good solid episode. Yeah. So very excited about that. Looking forward to another great season. I'm getting very excited, even though it's probably a couple of months off. But the Orville season 2 is coming, so I'm getting excited about that. But that's not until like late December, though.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you watch the latest Last Man Standing?
I did. Oh, the one that you said was going to make me cry and stuff. Yeah, it was sad. You kind of tricked me a little though, because I thought like one of the characters on the show was like going to come down with illness or something. I mean, yes, can we say what happened here? I mean,
it's a week old. I mean,
his dad died.
Yeah.
His dad dies, and it was a sad episode. And I actually will tell you, I was tearing up at the end, but it wasn't. It was more about like him finally kind of coming to the realization of what his dad meant to him.
Yeah.
Because he kind of tried to like pass it off as if it was.
That's what I meant. Yeah, that's how.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It was a good episode though. It really was.
Yeah, it was. I'm
very excited. That, by the way, Last Man Standing, since it has come back, is getting crazy. I mean, tons and tons of people are watching the show. Millions. The ratings are through the roof. Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because they now, in this last episode, Damien wants to just point out real quick, my Facebook memories for today include a reference to Supernatural Season 11. It was a conversation with Crowley about menopause and an orgy. Jeez. I'll share it for you to see, Brian.
Okay.
Oh, Lord. So anyway, Last Man Standing, the episode yesterday that just happened. First of all, I am disliking Mandy more and more every week. I really dislike her as the new Mandy. And,
it's tough.
And then on top of that, Ed Elzate. What is going... Like, is he going to be off the show?
I don't know. They have dialed him back a little bit, it seems like.
Right, and I don't understand why. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
He's a great character, and now it's just like...
He's a great comic relief kind of character.
Amazing. His stories and like his part in the show.
Yeah, it does. Look, I mean,
get rid of Ed Elzate. I like how they're transitioning it, but you know what? Keep Ed on as like a consultant or something. Like do something where he just still pops in and has cameos. Or
I'm gonna give Fox a little benefit of the doubt here because I think they need to get their legs under them a little bit. I mean, look, they're taking over, a franchise that they that they hadn't had before. I mean, yes, I know the formula for this show seems pretty easy and obvious, but look, you've had some casting changes, and you have a company that's taking over this show after a long run on ABC. I think it's going to take some time. I think they'll get there, though. I mean, but you're probably dealing with some different writers and stuff too. So, I'll tell you, the show I'm fascinated to see is the Connors, and to see what they do. With the death of Roseanne. I did. I watched it. I thought it was pretty good, but it'll be interesting to just see how they completely transition away from her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't really know because
we all know she's dying. She's going to die from like a drug overdose because she had been popping pills early on in the first season of Roseanne when it came back.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's going to be that's almost absolutely she's going to die of OD. But it'll be interesting though to see the flow of the show without her. You're talking about a show that was entirely built around Roseanne Barr.
Her comedian talent, yeah.
Yeah, and I love
anything with John Goodman's going to be a success.
Yeah, I love John Goodman, but it's going to be interesting that the dynamic of that show, everything funneled through her. So maybe this was one that they should have just let go, and just set up. You know what? But we'll see.
I think you're going to see a lot of people hop on board because of how she was let go because of that, and they're going to be like, all right, we're going to watch the show because we're going to support it, but it's got to be good for them to stay.
So
on.
It's almost like we want to watch it in spite of her because we want to show her that it had nothing to do with her. You're going to find out.
I don't think that. I think that people are going to be like, we're going to watch it, but it still has to be good for people to continue to watch it.
Right, and that's the thing. It's not going to be good. I'm sorry, but you're fighting an uphill battle there. Will I watch it? Yes, I'll tune in. I'll absolutely give it a few episodes. I think it's worth. I used to watch that show when I was a kid, so I will definitely watch it. But I have zero expectations that it's going to last. Maybe one more season and that'll be it.
Interesting. It's been a lot of shows that have done without their stars. Charlie Sheen did that with. The show wasn't as good without when they transitioned to Ashton Kutcher, but it was still good enough. I watched all the rest of the seasons, and
I will say I have been happy with the comebacks of Will and Grace, though. I didn't watch that.
I never really liked that show to begin with.
I really do like that show, and to me, it kind of picked up where it left off.
Yeah, I would watch that because I think it was on around Friends. And I would watch it because of that.
Yeah.
But I don't really tune in. I never loved that show. It was entertaining enough, but I just never really liked it.
The one show I can't do is I can't turn Murphy Brown on again. I don't know. I just can't do it.
I kind of want to see it. I kind of want it because that show was great.
It's on our DVR. Maybe if I'm really bored one day, I'll watch it just to see. But I don't know. I can't.
It's tough. All right.
I can't.
Well, that's it pretty much for our show. We talked about a lot today. MLB, Yankees, Brew Crew versus Dodgers. That's happening in a little while. We also talked about NFL, covered a couple of games, and of course Sunday Night Football. Recap Thursday Night Football. Talked a little sorts as well too. Some movie trailers. Had a lot of comments today, particularly during the baseball talk, which is weird. That's usually backwards. Usually it's very much the opposite, but I like that. I like people tuning in during the baseball talk.
I like beer.
All right, so you can find the show on Facebook Live every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Mondays and Saturdays at 9:45-ish, and Wednesdays at 11. And you can find the show on Twitter at Shane and Bryman. You can find me on Twitter at Einhorn
You can find me on Twitter at _Bry_man.
And you can also, of course, you can find the show. We actually upload the live show, to our YouTube channel. We don't have a YouTube channel name yet. You have to have so many subscribers. So if you can, go on over there, subscribe to our channel, so this way we can lock down Sports and Sorts in the YouTube stratosphere. And then we can start, putting that link up as well. We put all of our shows, ever since we started going live, I put them on there later in the day. We might transition over to YouTube eventually. We'll see how that goes, because we want to monetize this a little bit. And if we can do it through Facebook, great. If we can do it through YouTube, great. If we can do it through our podcast, great.
We're not picky.
Yeah, you can do that. You can find our podcast, www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com, and anywhere our podcasts are played, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all that kind of fun stuff. So thank you for listening. And we'll be back again on Monday with our NFL recap. We talk a little bit of October baseball and Monday Night Football, of course, too. So,
right.
And then whatever else that transpires. Any WWE stuff coming up or?
There's the Crown Jewel event in Saudi Arabia in early November, which is possibly where Hogan is making a return to the ring. Not wrestling, but I'm sure he'll come out. Apparently the higher ups in the Saudi Arabian kingdom have specifically requested Hulk Hogan's presence. So
who doesn't request Hulk Hogan's presence?
I mean, even Carson Wentz. You got to come up with one of your little Carson Wentz analogies, and incorporate Hogan into it now. I mean, you have to.
Oh man, all right.
You have to.
I'll figure it out.
A lot of pressure. It should be a slam dunk, but
somebody's here. Somebody's
awesome.
Here. Da-da-da-da. Did you hear that?
Good time. I did. Yeah.
That's my doorbell.
That's tremendous.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys again.
Stay classy, Play the Club.
Peace out. You can find Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bryman on iTunes or www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com.